Given birth from the ashes of the cancelled MMO Project Titan, Overwatch was released in May of 2016 after spending time in early access on PC. I've always been more of a campaign and co-op type of player, but after 5 years and 550 hours, I think it's safe to say that Overwatch has grabbed a hold of my attention in a way that few multiplayer-focused games ever have before. Non-stop updates, which will culminate with a sequel, most likely in 2022, have turned what was a sparse but fun package into something far more complete than what we had at launch. Let's see how that has come to pass, and if their hard work has paid off. Set roughly 60 years in the future, the world of Overwatch is one of technological wonder and constant strife. The Omnic Crisis, which had occurred 30 years before the game, saw a revolt led by the Omnics, a race of intelligent robotic lifeforms that humanity had created. There is a large and detailed lore to the game that has been grown throughout the years through comic books and beautiful pre-rendered cutscenes, and through in-game missions during special events that detail periods of the game's histories, both old and new. This all serves the purpose of giving life and personality to what is generally a 6v6 hero shooter played in the first-person perspective. When the game originally released, there were 4 classes of hero. Support focused on healing and group utility skills, defense and attack were exactly what you'd think, and the same goes for tanks. There was no restriction on how many people could play each character, and things were fun, albeit a bit terribly unbalanced. Slowly but surely over the years, there have been dozens of patches, both large and small, to try and get things to a more even state, and overall they've been successful. In quick play and ranked competitive modes, there is now a 2-2-2 structure. That is 2 tanks, 2 supports, and 2 attack, and defense has now been rolled into attackers. You can queue for the specific role you would like, though choosing the flex category, which gives you all 3, is invariably the best way to quickly get into a match. The only real negative for choosing flex is that becoming an attacker is a very rare occurrence, as so many people queue for it directly that you're going to be a tank or a healer. There is an excellent variety between the game's now 32 heroes, up from 21 at launch. Each is invariably defined by their weapon and how it works. Along with that are their 3 special moves. Those are assigned to the bumpers and the Y button. These moves range from things like putting down a healing field as Soldier 76 to throwing a hook as Roadhog and pulling enemies in close for a blast from your shrapnel shotgun. The Y button is your ultimate ability, and these are constant game changers. A meter at the bottom of your screen will slowly build up over time and in chunks based on if you're healing, dealing damage, or absorbing damage with a shield. Pretty much every match will hinge on which team use their ultimate abilities best outside of the rare complete stomps. There's a great variety in the weapons and abilities, and a full breakdown of them would take ages. Thankfully, there is a practice range and a mode where you fight computer-controlled enemies built into the game, so you can get a handle on how each hero works on your own time. A press of left on the directional pad will also bring up a snazzy screen that will give you a full description of each active and passive ability that your character has as well. Of my 550 plus hours in Overwatch, I would estimate a good 500 of them have been playing cooperatively with my brother and my wife. From the early days of absolute mayhem to coming back time and time again to play through one of the many events the game runs, we always find ourselves coming back to Overwatch and falling in love with it all over again. The party system works well, and sadly, there is still no crossplay between consoles, though there are users on console who use the device known as a Zim, which lets you use a mouse and keyboard. And seeing how accurate they are with that thing at pinging my head as the sniper class, I'm glad there's no crossplay with PC yet. The main mode for the game is Quick Play, which features 3 types of maps. First up is the Escort or Hybrid, where one team either takes a point and then escorts a payload, or starts escorting a payload from the very beginning trying to get it to the end of the map. There are assault maps where one team attacks and the other defends over 2 control points. To take a point, you need to keep the defensive team out of it completely, as you cannot gain the point if any of them are alive inside of it. And finally up is control, where both teams are on the attack and trying to take control of 1 point in a best 2 out of 3 round setup. To add variety, there is also the arcade section, which sees various other modes including a free-for-all deathmatch, capture the flag, quick play with different rule sets, and many more seasonal types of events. These often include PvE content that is a nice distraction after a long losing streak in the PvP. After 7 years of development, Blizzard canceled their MMO that was titled Project Titan and tasked a group of 40 or so developers led by Jeffrey Kaplan to try and come up with some way to salvage the work that they had done. Those years of development gave us fantastic graphical set pieces that the team has put to excellent use. The character models are fantastic, and even on the original Xbox, the game ran at a steady 60 frames per second, which should be standard for any good competitive first-person shooter. A 1X patch bumped the resolution up to a dynamic 4K, and a surprise Series console patch in March gave us 3 graphical modes. These are 4K 60 frames per second, 1440p 60 frames per second with higher settings graphically, and my personal choice of 1440p 120 frames per second. I played the game at 4K 60 for the footage I took for this video review, but other than that, I cannot go back from 120 FPS. I also really like the inclusion of the higher fidelity 1440p mode, as it's great for people who are running on a monitor but don't have a 120Hz display. And I cannot thank the Overwatch team and the Xbox backwards compatibility team enough for getting us this version of the game. There are also a staggering number of cosmetic items you can earn, which are tied to the tried, true, and absolutely hated loot box system. To remedy how much loot boxes are hated, Blizzard has made it quite easy to get them. I'd say on average, without grinding at all, just playing for fun, I open anywhere between 5 and 15 loot boxes a week without spending a penny. The higher numbers happen during the bi-monthly special events. The voice work in the game is fantastic, with excellent callouts both manually and automatically triggered. Every character has a good and a bad version of their ultimate ability callout. Hearing "It's high noon" will have your head spinning as you look for wherever the hell McCree is and how to best avoid him one-shotting you. Flavor is added in the pre-match banter that is tied to the lore of the game. And the seasonal events tend to have stories of their own as well, which are fully voice-acted. Sound effects are solid, if not spectacular, and the audio mix is generally clear and great for informing you of where friends and foe alike are. In conclusion, Overwatch is a special game, and as Overwatch 2 is essentially a complete rework that will carry your progress over, there is no reason to not give it a try if you haven't already. It often goes on sale for 66% off in the US, which knocks the price down to $20, and solo, or especially with friends, it will be well worth your money. The mix of frenetic PvP and PvE content, the wide variety of modes, and the excellent roster of heroes have made this one of my favorite games of all time. Thank you for watching, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and if you do subscribe, please give us a tick on that little bell so that you'll get an update on whenever we post. It is surprisingly often. And we will see you here next time on XboxEra.